90% of you likely haven't heard of this city, but what is life like here outside of Moscow and St. Petersburg? Is Russia as poor and depressing as people think? Welcome to today's Soviet paradise, deep in the Russian provinces, Oryol. This man right here is Andrei, a businessman from Kursk. More importantly for this video though, he's my father-in-law.
Мороженое. Эскимо.
And you may recognise him from the village video we filmed a few months ago. He agreed to take us to Oryol to meet a friend of his who would show us around a little, so we took him up on that offer. The drive from Kursk is only around a couple of hours, so it's not a particularly arduous journey, but hopefully it will be an interesting one. So we've just arrived and there's this statue here and I think it's a writer, but I have no idea who it is, so you can just tell me in the comments because I can't even read what that says. The text is just completely indecipherable for me. Maybe it's someone important, I don't know, maybe I should have done my research before coming.
Это, наверное, вот эти миниатюры, это из его произведений, наверное. Я так думаю.
The first time I came to this city, one of the most striking things was just the architectural vibe that it has here. It's very different to Kursk where I'm living at the moment. Just an entirely different feeling to the buildings. It's quite interesting. There's nowhere else that I've been in Russia that kind of feels this way, and it gives that sort of almost stereotypical vibe to it. I keep saying vibe a lot, but it's the only way I can think of describing how this city looks.
Его в Киеве убили в 11 году.
Now this is the third time I've been to Oryol, and that is because the first time was about a year ago, and I came here before I even started my channel, just kind of wanted to visit. And the last time I came to film a video, but the video was not successful, so I scrapped it. The journey to Oryol by train takes only about an hour and a half from Kursk. This is because of the Lastочка, a rather modern and affordable intercity train which runs on multiple routes within Russia, this one being from Kursk to Moscow. Welcome to Oryol. This is my first time actually being able to visit the city and have a look and enjoy the sights, the sounds, the smells. It's a pretty chilly morning though, I will tell you that. And look at that, Oryol. Now if you're unaware, you don't speak Russian, Oryol means eagle. Now if you want to know why it's called eagle, I have zero idea. Maybe there's eagles here. But look how beautiful that is. First impressions of the infrastructure are not incredible, but the first impressions of monuments are... Let's go and have a look at those ones. Over here is the train station. And they've got an old-fashioned train over here waiting for us. Katyusha rocket system here on the back of this absolutely beautiful, this big black steam train. What a wonderful welcome to the city, I must say. And we'll go over to the other side over here because there's something else. We'll see what we can find over there. Maybe it'll be something extra Soviet and interesting for us. We have another train carriage here, За Родину, for the motherland. Вперед к победе, forwards to victory. This is the type of welcome that I want to every city in Russia. It's even distracting me a little bit from the cold, but I think that's going to wear off soon. Here we have a sign, Patriot 57. Patriot 57. Now you may wonder, why 57? Well, that's because every region of Russia has a number assigned to it, and the region of Oryol is number 57. You'll see it on all the different license plates for cars. Number 1 is Adygea. Maybe we'll go to Adygea in the future, who knows? That would be a pretty interesting adventure, I think. I'm liking old Oryol already. As is my look when visiting any city in Russia, of course. The internet isn't connecting, so I have no idea where I'm going, no idea what I'm doing. I'm just wandering around this random neighbourhood. It's a pretty cool church though. Don't know what I can say about it. One of the first impressions I had of Erol the first time that I came here for that short trip is the fact that it feels so Soviet in comparison to any other city I've visited. And that there is a kind of little headquarters of the Communist Party here in Russia. This place, it's a little bit run down, the city itself, in comparison to some others, but I love it. It has that little adventurous feel to it in my heart. I feel like I've stepped back in time to maybe the late 80s, you know, back to the Soviet period, you know. I don't know, maybe this will end up being a very boring video because I have really no idea where I'm going or what I'm doing or what there is to do here. But we're not all. I think I'm starting to reach the real centre of the city now. I've got some amazing architecture, look at this. That there is apparently a library. Over there, a bank. What amazing architectural masterpieces you can find here in old Erol. I'm impressed. Here is another architectural masterpiece. So up here we have a bust of Lenin and some other busts along all the way along here. I think they're all philosophers. I think that's Nietzsche there, maybe I'm wrong. I have no idea who they are, but look at the stonemasonry on this. And just some random building in the middle of the city. And here I've found a absolutely magnificently Soviet park. I was just walking around, stumbled across it, all this iconography here for the Great Patriotic War, Second World War. So perfectly Soviet. That could be said about the city in general. I really do think it is a Soviet city at heart. It's not yet become a Russian city. And I like that. It's like a little time capsule. I get to live out my little weird Englishman Soviet fantasies. The type of location that I dreamt of coming to when I first stepped onto Russian soil. And here we are on the main square of the city, Lenin Square, with the man himself behind me. So here today we can see that they've got all the different decorations up for Christmas and New Year. They've got these stalls out. They've gone all in on it, which is something that I appreciate. It's quite nice. Now, in every Russian city there is a big square with Lenin on it, but something that makes Erol more interesting for someone who's interested in Soviet aesthetics and history and stuff is the flag of the city. So I don't know if you can see it very well over here, but the flag of Erol still has the hammer and sickle on it. How interesting is that? Adds to the kind of Soviet vibe of the place. So one thing I noticed that people were interested about was my little lesson on how to read Russian a little bit. The Cyrillic alphabet. So how about I show you again. So that one, same as in English, O. And that one, the one that looks like a P, Re. And that's the E with the two dots, the umlaut, is Yo. And this kind of thing is L. So, Orel. But because of the way that the Russian language works, the O kind of turns into an A, so it's Erol, because the stress is on the Yo. Once again, you can't say it's not an educational channel.
It was at this point that we met with Andrei's friend, Roman. He's originally from Murmansk in the far north of Russia, but seems to know Erol rather well. So he invited us all to join him at a local cafe called New York Coffee, which is located in the centre of the city. The prices were decent and the atmosphere was pretty good, but the star of the show was the popcorn coffee I tried, as now I want to return back to Erol just for this coffee. However, they didn't pay me for this video, so I'll add that the cakes were rather underwhelming.
I had a comment on the previous video asking if they have Irish pubs here, and yes they do, there's one of them. Right now we're on one of the main historical streets here in the city, and I must say for this video, unfortunately, the weather isn't very great. It's kind of dull, kind of cold, kind of windy. But we're going to try and enjoy the city anyway. Why not? The weather is something you just have to face in Russia.
Next we were taken to a nearby park, where unfortunately the weather wasn't amazing, but the views were still rather nice. The city is filled with such parks, this one being called Varyanskoye Gniezdo.
Мороженое. Эскимо. Влад, распуши, она полетит.
And all along the river you can walk through the greenery and enjoy the ducks and other wildlife. It'll probably be much better in the summer, so we might return sometime in the future and see how different the city feels. But for now, I don't have the power to change the weather.
I don't know, but this looks like it's somewhat dodgy to me. Can this really hold my weight? Because it's not exactly close to the ground. I wouldn't exactly call myself scared of heights, but I don't particularly like them.
After a nice long walk in the cold, we came across a church. In my opinion, some of the most beautiful churches in the world are located here in Russia, as even in the smallest of villages you will find these ornate masterpieces.
Я в Бога не верю. Там Гундяев.
Да, тогда получается нет. Не Александр II, Александр I дал деньги. Да.
Что решил понять?
Вот видишь, он заложен, 1801 года. Наличные деньги он заложен Александр I.
Шел сидишь, здесь нету. Здесь на коленях только можно сидеть, стоять. На коленях.
If you yourself wish to visit a church here, which I highly recommend, then you should follow some basic rules. Firstly, if you are a man, then you should remove your hat before entering. And if you're a woman, then you should have your head covered. Secondly, it's a place of worship and not a theme park. Show some decorum whilst you're in there, please. In Russia, you can be prosecuted for insulting the religious feelings of believers, so please keep that in mind whilst you are here. It's not particularly strict, but please don't play Pokemon Go in the church or something like that.
As I've said in a previous video, I would recommend going and visiting the churches when you come here. But one thing that you should do is be respectful. Like, even if you don't believe, even if you're a different denomination or different religion, just be respectful. It's extremely beautiful in there. Every single church really is like this, even in the smallest of villages.
Whilst we were walking to our next destination, we came across quite an unexpected sight.
Pub.
Генеральное консульство Великобритании. United Kingdom. Консул.
Traditional English pub.
This English pub wasn't something I was expecting to come across in a random provincial city, but it was a welcome surprise. It truly had an atmosphere which made me feel at home, but unfortunately we had plans so we couldn't stay. There's always next time, my beloved. Instead we headed to a restaurant that Roman recommended, and as we had been walking so much today, it would end up being quite the feast. The prices were pretty standard for a restaurant in this area of Russia, and for all of this food, it came to 1,240 rubles. But that wasn't enough for us, so we got ourselves some tea and cakes to end off the meal and give us some energy for what was to come.
Как наркотик будет по-английски?
Drugs.
Drugs? Drugs, cakes. Cakes.
Good cakes.
Аппарат, да?
River Oka.
So behind me you see Tsar Ivan Grozny, Ivan the Terrible, who actually apparently founded the city of Oryol. Grozny doesn't exactly mean terrible. It's a kind of strange translation, but it's the one that stuck in English. And I just thought it'd be interesting to show you where it all started.
We circled round to another park in the city as the sun began to set. This one was a little more run down, despite being in the very centre, although it did have its own aspects of development which were appreciated. It has an incredible view of the city, and leads directly onto the previous square we had visited earlier, now glistening with decorations for the new year as it's Russia's biggest holiday. You would know this already if you had watched my previous video on that topic.
So you might be wondering, how late is it for it to be this dark? Maybe 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock perhaps, 4 o'clock, just like in England. Welcome to the Russian winter. Yeah.
By now, it's time to bid farewell to Roman. I think I didn't do Oryol much justice in this video. As an aspect I didn't touch on much, the city's famed literary prowess, something I might cover in more detail if I visit again in the future. If you're from Ariol yourself, then give me some recommendations on what I missed. And if there's enough material, then I'll return and film another video. However, this isn't the end of the video, as a special surprise location awaits.
В Одессе так говорят, не сюда или куда, а кудои или сюдои. В Одессе говорят.
Да.
Слышал об этом?
Yeah.
Злата, а ты слышала? Может, не стоит так? Или вы хотите до того домика дойти?
Да, а где?
Если бы я знал.
So understand that none of you can see anything and we can barely see anything, look. But this is a fortress around here. We came here about a year ago and we thought it was cool, but obviously it's already got the sun setting very early, so you can literally see nothing because it's outside of the city already. Here we got this broken up wall here.
This is the Saburovskaya Fortress, and was built in the late 18th century as a monument to the glory of Russian arms. It's attached to a church which was built earlier in 1755, but we'll explore that a little after we show you what's inside the fortress itself.
So we're going into this little house that's been abandoned and it is terrifying. We came before, but I want to show you what's inside.
Очень страшно.
Ну что, готово? Hello.
Ой, только вот этот фашистский знак. Осторожно. Что это? Бабочки?
Look around and find out. So here, if you want to come round, is is just a sheer drop. No, this place is terrifying. I don't know what it is, but it's just.
It's snow.
Привет. What do you guys think about this place? Would you come here? Would you stand on this ledge here? Tell me in the comments what you think. Should I do more abandoned places like this? Some kind of like go to Vorkuta or something and explore the abandoned houses there? I reckon it could have been years ago in the past. Could have been something great, but now it's just a carcass, if you will.
Ты что? Не знаю.
We've got all these works of art on the wall. What a perfect canvas for these masterpieces.
Смотри, я обращу ваше внимание.
Да.
Углы закругленные. Углы. Сейчас так не строят. Углы, видишь, закругленные.
Man, да.
Она раньше была побелена, поштукатурена, белая была, белая.
Mhm.
И забор-то тоже был весь белый. Потом, обратите внимание, окна и двери арочные.
Mhm.
Вот так вот, это просто арка. А вот так, это стрелецкая арка называется. Стрелецкая арка, окна. И вон одна рама целая. Целая одна рама. С той стороны два окна, целые рамы. Я не знаю, ей 200 лет или 50, но видите, какие были маленькие эти.
So what do you guys think of this place? Would you come and explore this? Would you want to come and visit this? Because I would recommend it. Something interesting, something that you wouldn't expect. The correct side.
Сейчас заберу то полено. Снимай меня, Бен. Сейчас я дверь оставлю открытой. Слишком длинная. Длинная. Я думал, оно вот такое, но вот такое. Его надо пилить, а у меня нет такой длинной пилы.
this is one of the towers that we walked past, but we thought that we'd go inside and have a look what's in here. Ой. Птицы.
Они могут кусаться.
Да.
Летучие мыши, как?
Bats, да.
Bats?
I think we'll leave that one alone.
Вот какие-то развалины, сходите, вон, видите?
Что там? Я ничего не вижу.
Ходим. Ты вверх. Посмотри вверх, я думаю, что есть.
Ну, я ничего не вижу. Ой, там, ну он белый. Поэтому я думаю, что это дов. Блин.
Ну все, пойдем.
Да. Well, I think these ruins are really cool. I recommend doing it in the daytime though, unless you want some kind of horror film aesthetic. Что-то написано.
Да.
Нет.
Угу. Все на месте, проверяйте.
Да.
Сюда ехать? Или куда?
Спасибо, что свозил нас.
Спасибо.
На здоровье.
Получится хорошее.
Дай бог.
Before you go, I would like to bring to your attention two very special viewers, those being Hrach Chadajian and Mikhail Sterebkov, who both gave a super thanks on my previous video. It was extremely unexpected that anyone would donate at all, never mind that someone would send a whole $50. That covered the cost for our New Year feast, so these special people genuinely started 2026 in a special way for me and my wife, and I'll forever be grateful for that. But that's all for today, so if you enjoyed the video then give it a like, and you'd probably also enjoy this one which should be showing on the screen to you right now. Have a wonderful day, and see you next time.